Okay, so what I'm going to show you today is dealing with separate partitions to be mounted as your home directory. Now, it's pretty useful for a couple of reasons. One, if you have a separate hard drive, you can mount your home partition, your home folder, to that hard drive, and if your system crashes, you can reinstall the system and you don't have to worry about your documents just stay there on the other partition. You just point the installation to the home partition. And then also for me it comes in handy because I reinstall my Linux installations quite a bit. Not too often, but it's easy to reinstall without having to wipe all of the documents, because then I have to back up gigabytes of data and then restore it later, whereas with a home partition I just point the installation to the home partition and I'm done. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. So first I've got this is Ubuntu 10.04 I think, and so I'm going to go into the live CD, which I probably didn't need to do, but too late. And this is through VirtualBox, by the way, which I'll be doing a later tutorial on how to set up a VirtualBox if you don't know how to set it up. Alright, so we're going to go to the installation. And it's going to be a little laggy, a little slow because it's running off of a mounted ISO image. Go forward. And I'm just going to kind of speed it up to the hard drive section, which I believe is the next screen. Hard drive setup. Okay, so you've got three options here. Depending on which version of Ubuntu that you're working with, it might be a little different, but we want to specify the partitions manually. So we're going to select that, go to forward. I don't know why I have two mice here, but two mouse pointers, you can just ignore that. Let's see, it's asking me to upgrade. I'm just going to say don't upgrade for now. Okay, so these are my existing partitions, so I'm going to delete these. If you're working with a computer that has no important data on it, you can just delete all the partitions if you have nothing to lose on that computer. So what we want to do is we want to add the first partition. So I'm going to make it about, just going to pick a random number here, and the mount point for your first partition is going to be /, which is the root of the system. Actually, you know what, I just realized I need to make that, let's do 7,000. It's a little less than 7 gigabytes. Okay, so that's a small partition for the system. And then we're going to do another partition, and that's going to be where all your documents are stored. So I'm going to now also keep in mind this isn't a lot of space because it's VirtualBox and I made kind of a small hard drive. So we're going to do another partition, same file system, ext4, and we're going to choose home for the mount point and click OK. So what that means is all your documents are stored on a separate partition automatically, right on the home partition. So when you reinstall the system, all you have to do is point the installation to reflect this setup, which I'll show you how to do in part 2, because this is going to have to install, so I'm going to have to shut it off in a second. But so then we're going to go to add, because we need the rest of the space to be the swap partition. If you don't know what that is, if you're familiar with Windows, it's like page file, but it's pretty slick. It's just a separate partition that never really gets in the way like page file does. Okay, so we've got our root partition that gets formatted, our home partition, which also gets formatted now, but in later installations, to keep your data, you would choose not to format it. You'll see all that again when I do the second installation, because I'm going to do a reinstall to show you how it works to keep your data. And if you had a separate hard drive, another hard drive, you could actually, I only have one hard drive here, which is SDA, but if you had another hard drive, you could put all your documents on your home partition on the second hard drive, which would really be beneficial if one hard drive goes. If your system hard drive goes or crashes, that makes it, a lot better to have it on a separate partition or a separate hard drive. Okay, so we're going to go to install now. And this is pretty much just self-explanatory from here. Keeping all the US defaults. And that's it. So I'm just going to use a guest username. And I will see you for part 2 when the installation finishes. I'm going to go into the home folder, create just a couple text files, and then we'll start a new installation, and you'll see how to make sure that those documents don't get destroyed when you reinstall the system. And it'll also keep us from having to actually back all the data up and then put it onto an external hard drive or flash drive and then restore it again. So it makes things easier when you're reinstalling the system. So you'll see all that in part 2. So see you soon. Okay, so we're back for part 2. So now what we're going to do is I'm here at my newly installed Ubuntu system. So I'm going to log in. And what I'm going to do is go to my documents and just create some test documents, just things to make sure that we actually know that there's something there, so when we reinstall the system we can check to see if they're still there. So test.txt, and oh, you know what else I have is a Firefox profile. So I have files here. So now the scenario would be maybe the operating system was running too slow, or I just don't like it for whatever reason. I'm gonna reinstall, but let's say I have gigabytes of data. It takes a long time to back it all up and then restore it after the installation. So this will bypass that. So let's go ahead and restart. And actually, before I click restart, I need to put in my fake CD-ROM here. I'm going to use Ubuntu 11.04 as the new system. Alright. Alright, and we need to go into the live CD environment to do this, just to make a few modifications to the files. You'll see. I have to delete there's some hidden files in the home directory that can conflict with the new desktop environment, so I like to delete anything that's not a file that I want to show up in my home directory. There's certain things like configuration folders and stuff that really shouldn't be there when the new system is installed. Okay, so here we are, and if I go to, I believe this is the partition with the home folder. You can see guest right there. That's my guest folder, my user folder. So we're gonna go to tools, open folder as current folder as root, which actually, you know what, let me zoom in. Okay, so yeah, here's the guest user folder. We're gonna go to tools, open current folder as root, and here we go. So here's that test document, and so what I'm gonna do is sorry, these two mouse arrows are confusing me. I'm gonna go to show hidden, and I'm pretty much gonna delete everything here except for the ones that I want to keep, which would only be documents, or if you have a program like a web browser, like for me Firefox is the Mozilla folder. I want to keep that. So okay, let's go through these files. The files that are on the root of your home directory, of your user's home directory, these are usually configurations. These don't need to be there. New ones will get created with the new installation. So get rid of those. Get rid of these. Anything that's a configuration. And so really all I'm leaving are the document folders. Oh. And Mozilla. That's it. So we're going to delete them. Press shift, hold shift and press delete, and then click yes. And so now only the files that are important to me are here. So I'm going to X out of there, and let me zoom out a little bit. This mouse is really killing me here. Alright, I'm going to unmount that that drive. The installation should ask if you want to unmount it anyway, but okay, so now we're going to go to the installation, which is up here. I'm just going to kind of open it from the corner. Okay, let me zoom back in for you. Okay, so go forward, and this is fine. We'll go next. Normally I check both these boxes here, but to save on time, they don't need to be checked for this tutorial. Okay, so this is a newer installation, so instead of choosing any of these, we're going to choose something else. And this will let us do a custom partition setup. And so now, you can see, here's that first partition. That's a system one I created. This is the home directory, SDA5, and swap. So now we just have to make it reflect the new setup. So we're gonna just, instead of deleting and creating new partitions, we're just gonna change these. So let's go to change. That one stays the same. It's gonna be used with ext4, and mount point will be / for root, and format, because we want the whole system to be gone. That old operating system 1010 is going to be gone. We don't want any files from that system, any configuration files messing this up on the Ubuntu 11.04. Now, SDA5, this is home. Now, we're going to change it, and we're going to select ext4 because that's what we used when we originally created the partition. So if you do this and you use any other file systems, you always have to choose whichever one you started with. So ext4, we're not going to format it, we're just going to mount it as home. So now we're going to click OK. And another thing too is, if you have a lot of files that you're worried about and you don't want to mess with the home directory too much, let me get back to a file manager. There's another thing you can do. I don't think it wants to mount for me now. But anyway, you can rename the the user folder. And just put like a 2 next to it or something, or a number 1 or whatever, and then just move the files into your home directory later. But anyway, so that's it. We're all set up. Install now. Swap will be used automatically because once you have a swap partition created, any Linux installation will see it and use it, which is another great thing that makes it better than the page file system on Windows. Even live CDs will actually use your swap partition, so it's very useful. It's very broad and has a lot of use. Okay, so user's name, do the same thing here. Same password. Whoops. It's important that if you create the same username, they should have the same password so that you have access to the files. If you use the same username and a different password, you'll have trouble getting into that folder. And that's it. So I will let this install, and we'll check back in to see how the installation went, and when it's all finished, we'll see if the documents are all there. So until next time, see you soon. Okay, so I just got done with the Ubuntu installation, and I had to install Firefox just to check to make sure the profile comes through. But you can see if we go to my documents, let me get rid of the hidden folders there. If I go to documents, there's my file, and I didn't have to actually copy anything to a hard drive and then restore it later. I didn't have to back these documents up. I just pointed the new installation to my home partition, and it makes things a lot easier. And if I go to hidden, here, let me zoom in for you. You can see all these configuration folders. They got recreated with the new installation, so that's why I delete them. So the old configurations, if I leave them in here, they may actually, I don't know if they get overwritten, and I think it actually screws up a little bit of the profile. So it's good just to delete the old ones and let the new ones get created on their own. And that is pretty much it. Let's check Firefox. Make sure that works, which I don't even know if I had anything in the profile to begin with, but yeah, checking your add-ons, that means it detected that there was another profile there. So that's pretty much it. So that's how you mount, that's how you set up a separate partition for your home folder, and then reinstall your system and keep that home partition so it's used on the new system. That's it. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.